Welcome to BitBoy Crypto, where our mission is to empower you to have financial freedom through crypto assets. And if you like the sound of that, go ahead and hit that like button. This is Around the Blockchain. We come to you Monday through Friday at 5:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking about your favorite topic with some of your favorite guests, and today is no exception. We have on the right side, we have the glasses. We have MacNCheeasy in that top right, rocking them Gucci shades. And then the bottom right, we have Tom, my favorite half of Crypto Busy. Don't tell your partner there. And then we also have Joe Parys on the bottom left. We always like seeing what's going on in the balcony behind you. Then in the top left, we have rocking the flannel, Ben Armstrong himself coming in. But today, we're going to be talking about cancel culture or Taoism. Is there room for cancel culture in crypto? Copyrights and NFTs, and 3.6 billion recovered. That's right, 3.6 doll hairs. We're not talking about 3.6 billion sheep. We're talking about the Bitfinex hack. That is right. But we're gonna get into that, but you know what time it is. Before that, of course, it is time for us to check out these markets. Let's see what's going down. We have a little bit of some mixed messaging going on here. We have Bitcoin up a little less than 1%, a little above half. We have Ethereum down about 0.5%. BNB cooling down a little bit, had a nice run up to 400, past 400. I expect a nice amount of support at the 4 level. XRP just continuing to pump. You know what? I asked you about it yesterday, but Ben, I'm going to ask you about it again today. We have XRP pumping. I know you said, we finally have some news trickling out of the woodwork, but we're at 35% on the week. Do you expect, any kind of resistance in the short term here?
Well, I mean, certainly. I mean, we'll probably see resistance. It feels like 85 cents is a good line for XRP. If I'm remembering correctly, it hovered right around that for a while before charging up to $1 and then right back down to 85 cents. Can't catch a break with Bitcoin. Am I right? But look, we had Blockchain Backer on the show this morning. Very fascinating stuff. Really enjoyed talking to him. And, he said some stuff that was very interesting about, the comparison from altcoin season in 2018 to today. And we haven't seen an altcoin season. But the thing is the altcoin season actually came during the relief rally, the first relief rally in January of the Bitcoin, downtrend. So even though the timing is off, I mean, that was a 1 month period. We're looking at 3 months as the top at this point. It's very interesting to think that, if we did get some XRP news from the lawsuit here pretty soon, or from the SEC case that was positive, like it was over or something similar, there's a settlement, then, this could propel a larger altcoin season where people would be excited about putting money into that. I don't know, Bitcoin maybe goes back up to 50 or 55 or 60 or something like that. And then from there, it's anybody's guess what's happening. Could we actually see an altcoin season that could push Bitcoin back bullish? That would be interesting. But
that is a great point. You look at the altcoin season, you look at Bitcoin, it had its nice run up in April, then it had its nice run up in November, and you'll see, it actually kind of eclipsed that earlier high, but you don't see that. I'm just looking at, the top from 20 to 30. You didn't see it with Litecoin. You didn't see it with Chainlink. You didn't see it with Uniswap. I don't believe you saw it with Tron. So yeah, we had a large pump in May, but then they just kind of never, they didn't get the memo in November. So yeah, I mean,
it was selective. We can all look at projects and say, well, if we had a peak and we knew it was the peak, we can say Solana, had an altcoin season, parabolic. You could say Sandbox did, Crypto.com did. So there are definitely projects. Avalanche did, Elrond did. You can point to some projects, almost all of those are in our portfolio, and you can see where it was similar action. But overall, across the board, we didn't see the way altcoin season usually works, to where even the micro caps start really, really, really pumping. But what's interesting is the micro caps and the smaller coins, they were pumping over the DeFi summer if they were in that niche. So it feels like just a wonky altcoin season that, has been displaced everywhere.
I love talking about this. I want to talk about one just quick minute. Tom, also there's another thing, the big altcoin that we're kind of not mentioning here, and that's Ethereum. We saw it in 2017, early 2018, almost to the day Ethereum would pump a month after Bitcoin, and we saw it early last year, or Q2 last year. but we didn't see it in November, and we're not seeing it, too much recently. Although, Ethereum did have a nice pump. It's at 3,100 now. Do you see that possibly playing out again, or is that narrative over? Where Ethereum pumps a month later, and then the small caps and the mid caps.
For sure. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having us on the show. When it comes to Ethereum and Bitcoin, things are heating up. It's getting very, very interesting. What you've seen with bull cycles in the past, if you look at the Bitcoin monthly return chart, is that Q4 of that year, whenever there's a bull cycle, tend to do really well. Like there's loads of green in the charts. And what we saw last year from 2020 all the way up until 2021 was that green Q4. But last year, October, November, and December were quite interesting because you had Bitcoin doing well in October, and then in November not doing well. It went down negative. But Ethereum went opposite to what Bitcoin was doing, and that was in the green. So we're seeing some form of decoupling here. Now, here at CryptoBusy, we have a bit of a bet going on with Josh and myself. I feel that Ethereum could flip Bitcoin potentially in this bull cycle, but I think at some point in our lives it could happen. But Josh thinks no, Bitcoin reigns supreme, first market mover advantage. So we've got that bet going on the side there. But yeah, things are very heating up for Ethereum and also just for the altcoins as well. Seeing XRP pump as well recently, that's good news on my end. As Ben was saying, there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff coming out for XRP, for the Ripple SEC lawsuits this time, because this time round with this case, you're going to be seeing all things we can really dissect, and the information and evidence we can look into, emails, potentially even audio recordings as well. So some really cool evidence that's going to be coming out of the woodwork there. And for sure, we're going to be keeping right on top of those updates there. But with Ethereum, with Bitcoin, yeah, it's looking very interesting. And I do think right now, 3,100 at the moment. Yeah, it's looking good at the moment. They're down 1% today, but a lot up, 12% overall over the week. So yeah, looking good so far.
XRP Army, we can't see you do the X's in your living room, but what we can see is you hit that like button. So please go ahead, smash that like button. But let's talk a little cancel culture or Daoism. We had a big snafu with the ENS naming DAO. Those who don't know, it's the .eth names. That is ran by an OWL, did a nice airdrop for everybody probably about 3 months ago. So the autonomous it's a decentralized autonomous organization. That's what DAO stands for. And the ENS removed its director of operations, Brantley Milligan, after reaching a 75% majority. Of course, he was ousted over some older tweets. Now, he identifies as Catholic, and it was just tweets kind of aligning with his Catholic values. He spoke about sexuality. He spoke about biological genders. He kind of waded in some vitriol, some very risky topics to bring up. And they did not like it. Twitter, the mob came after him, said, we want you to, take this guy down. It felt Milligan made them feel excluded in an identity-based community that's supposed to be about inclusivity and openness. Now, Joe, I'm gonna bring it to you first. I'm not trying to, get too controversial here, but do DAOs, do they have to hold themselves to a higher standard than say a synonymous or an anonymous project that you don't really know who runs it? Do they have to hold themselves to a higher standard because it's kind of a democracy compared to, what some would say is more of a dictatorship?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really tricky situation to say the least. And DEEZY, thanks for having me back on the show. Ben, BitSquad, always an honor to be here, and really appreciate the opportunity. This is a really, when I look at the article and look at what happened, do they need to hold themselves higher? Absolutely hold themselves higher. But this reminds me of something that played out literally in 2017, 2018. There was a cryptocurrency blockchain called Steem, and they had this, blogging platform called Steemit. And one of the things that people were really kind of unsure about and why Steemit kind of fell apart a little bit is this whole censorship resistant thing. People wanted to be able to basically have a social media like steemit.com where they could blog and talk about whatever they wanted to talk about in a very open manner and not be censored. Well, that's a great idea in theory, but the truth of the matter is when, this guy was tweeting what he was tweeting, whether it's it was definitely, there's kind of a line there, right? And so I feel like in general, there's always this line, and if you cross that line, no matter where you are, you know, no matter what your beliefs, there's line in the sand, right? Where everyone kind of knows moral and value wise, like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have crossed that one. And so to me right now, this is I think, you know, they voted 75%. I like the decision ultimately because they gave people a vote and a chance to do that. And yes, I think cryptocurrency in general, we all need to hold ourselves to more accountability and to continue to grow the space, because when you happen, it didn't look good. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I look at this and I look at the tweet, it didn't, I don't know, it didn't rub me the right way personally. And
Okay, yeah, and I think you're bringing up a good point. There's definitely going to be more accountability, you know, with this. Now, Mac, is this, you know, with this whole thing, do you see DAOs, you know, do you see the popularity of DAOs or creators wanting to create DAOs? Do you see that becoming less of a thing in the future because they say, oh, you know, now we're, you know, we're going to have to kind of, you know, listen to what the community says, whether it's good or bad, even if it's not voting rights, you can kind of almost, I don't know, say be coerced into voting a certain way due to social media? Or do you see DAOs just becoming more and more popular moving forward? Where do you see DAOs in the next 6 months, 12 months? Are we going to see more of them or less of them?
I think this illustrates really what you're getting yourself into when you create a DAO. You want the community to make a decision, and that's what the community is doing here. And I think there's an important distinction between a user getting deplatformed and a user not working on the platform, because in this case it's not like he's unable to leverage and use the platform. He's just not going to be working on it and not being the director of operations. So in the example, right, Twitter, right, somebody gets deplatformed, they no longer can use the platform. Brantley, he can use the platform. So it's not permissionless in that case. Well, it is permissionless in that case where it's just about using ENS. But now in terms of actually operating and running it, they put it to a vote and a decision was made. And I think there's also an important distinction that this decision was made amongst peers and amongst the people that want the best for the actual organization. Whereas in like traditional cancel culture, a lot of times, whether for right or wrong, a lot of the voices are a smaller minority of a community, and their voices get heard, and then kind of decisions have to be made in order to kind of feed these kind of requests, when in reality maybe a greater majority don't actually necessarily believe it or don't necessarily want that decision to be made. But in this case, it's directly a direct democracy in a sense that you get to vote for what you want. So I think this actually shows the power of DAOs. The question for me, right, is who's going to do the work? Is this truly the best thing for the ENS long term? Because clearly Brantley has been a key part of the actual delivery. So I think it comes back to DAOs as a whole. Who's doing the work? How are you going to organize it? And how can you make sure that although the decision is in the people, they're informed enough such that the decision has the best interest for the long-term success of the actual platform?
Well, you said it pretty good there. Who's going to organize it? Now, Ben, you know, not every protocol needs a DAO. It is extra organization. There are extra steps. There is extra, you know, accountability. You're also kind of giving up some control. Are there any types of chains or projects that you would say this does need a DAO versus, you know, kind of just let the team run it?
Well, I don't want to assume the DAO their needs. I don't want to assume the pronouns of the DAOs. So, you know, I don't want to I want to stay chain agnostic here, because I want to make sure that I don't, I might upset some people who believe in a certain kind of chain over another. I want to be really careful, you know, to appease everybody. Look, I think that when it comes to DAOs, they're still in the experimental stage. I think we have a lot still to go. We were talking this morning about the Wonderland and Olympus DAO, both of those. You know, maybe a little more hope for Olympus than Wonderland. Obviously, it's, I believe, a dead project at this point. I'm sure the price would move, but you know, trying to figure out the use cases for DAOs that will work in the future, it's anybody's guess. I actually saw somewhere I saw there actually is a DAO. Me and TJ were talking about this idea of what if the city of Atlanta owned the Falcons? Like what if, we bought it and then we create a DAO to where the fans actually had a say in what happens on the team. And it sounded like, there's no way that would actually work. Well, I actually did read recently, I don't have the article pulled up now, but a story, there is a group trying to do that. There is a DAO that is trying to, I want to say buy the Denver Broncos. I think they're up for sale. I think that might be who it is. So $4 billion. And look, in crypto, you can come up with that money in a DAO pretty easy, I would say, depending on, the fund status of, the people that are involved. There's a lot of money in crypto. So that's what I'm really interested in to see if that will ever become a reality. One day, maybe, but there is some complications with it, right? Because you bring up the idea of, I think it's very important. I think it was, can't remember which one of you said it now, but you were talking about, when it comes to DAOs, you got to be careful what you wish for. I guess it was MacNCheeasy, I think, that was talking about it. You got to be careful what you wish for, right? Like, let's say I bought the Falcons and, we left it up to the city of Atlanta on, or that DAO, what they want to do. Well, eventually they might go against everything you stand for. What if the popularity, and this goes right into talking about the cancel culture. What if the popularity of whatever the current idea is, or whatever the current, controversies are, what if you stand in the face of that? Just because the majority of people agree on something doesn't mean that it's right. So I think you just got to be careful.
That's what I look forward to in the future. Yeah, that's what I look forward to in the future. It's like, what's going to be offensive that we say now in like 10, 20 years time?
Eating meat.
And I find that funny. Like, the stuff that we might say and bandy around. Like what's going to be offensive in future? I
do think
crazy.
It's eating meat. Yeah. I think eating meat is going to be like 50 or 60 years from now, we're going to be looked at as savages. Can you believe that they killed an animal and ate it? Oh my gosh. Now we grow all our food in a lab.
Definitely.
Like, that's what I think about. I always tell people, like, what's legal today may be illegal tomorrow. Well, certainly what's cancelable tomorrow is not cancelable today. As we've seen over and over again. So, because the thing about cancel culture that drives me crazy, especially if you go back and you're canceling historical figures, is the context and their culture and their environment was different than ours is. It doesn't make it right, but it was different. Like, what's admissible was different. 60 years from now, people may think eating meat is as bad as, drunk driving or something. You know what I mean? I mean, it actually kills something as opposed to drunk driving, which may or may not injure somebody. So, it sounds crazy right now, but you never know with people. I mean, if you think about
I see that you guys in the States at the moment are trying to cancel the Joe Rogan and everything over there. Like, which Joe you can cancel, whether it's Joe.
Don't put me in
Joe Rogan.
I love Joe.
Yeah. That's another hot topic, much like a Brantley tweet. Maybe we should avoid. But let's get to the lightning round real quick. And I wanted to show off, maybe during the lightning, we have a difference in the Bitcoin and Ethereum 7-day chart here. We're about a week into February. So we're up 14% on Bitcoin. We're up 11.9% on Ethereum. My question is, will Bitcoin continue to lead over Ethereum for the month of February? I'm going to start with you, Joe. What is going to finish off February stronger, Bitcoin or Ethereum?
Well, if the video I made today, the answer is D. None of it actually does what it continues to keep doing. Honestly, it's crazy. But I'll say this: Bitcoin right now it's a completely different project than Ethereum. It's the #1 coin for the reason of, first mover advantage. I'm going to stick with Bitcoin, and I don't see anything changing.
We have Bitcoin leading. Tom, what would you say? What is going to have a stronger February for the last 2.5, 3 weeks, Bitcoin or Ethereum?
I think, throughout the month of February, Bitcoin's going to have a better month out of the two, longer term, potentially even Ethereum. But Bitcoin right now is the household name. Everyone knows about Bitcoin at the moment. Investment banks are looking into it. KPMG in Canada, they've added also Bitcoin onto their books. So, I think it's going to be looking good for Bitcoin for February itself.
All right, Bitcoin. All right, MacNCheeasy, what are you going to say is going to have the stronger month?
I'm going to lean towards Ethereum. I think you got some NFT Bud Light commercials coming out for the Super Bowl. Who knows when Coinbase NFT is going to come out? I think we might see a strong February. They will go in tandem. So I'm rooting for both, but I think Ethereum.
I have the Coinbase NFT press release from August. It's coming out in December of 2021. Oh, wait. No, we're past that. Ben, I know Ethereum, February, kind of a sore spot. I wasn't trying to bring up any past demons or anything like that, but what is going to have the stronger February?
Well, I mean, for Ethereum to get to $2,500 by Valentine's Day, I mean, Bitcoin's going to have the stronger, the stronger. You know, there's probably people watching the channel. They're like, "What?" You know. I mean, it's a year ago.
I was rooting for you back. I was rooting for you to be right. I was down in Texas. You know,
Yeah.
Come on. I believe too. So I think
Well,
I think we all wanted it.
Yeah, we definitely did.
really did,
I think I really have a renewed hope for an altcoin season after doing that video of Blockchain Backer this morning. And so if that were the case, then, you know, we certainly need Bitcoin to continue its rally for that to start. But I don't think I would see that happening by the end of this month. Maybe. I think March is really the month to watch, I believe. So, but it could happen quick. I mean, we saw how fast Bitcoin went from,
let's get a good pump, maybe 35 by Valentine's is the new meme. All right. Well, let's talk. We brought up Coinbase. Let's talk about copyright and NFTs. Looks like it says NTFs there. Yeah, we caught you, BJ. All right. So OpenSea is said that is against site policy to sell NFTs of plagiarized content. This includes delisting items and banning the guilty parties' accounts and banning their wallets. Now they have a new tool. It's called the Sniffles NFT. No, that's not, probably what you're thinking, a generative drop of people, playing with their nose there. It's an image recognition tool co-developed by MacNCheeasy and a couple of software developers. It will recognize the plagiarized image, and then it will flag it, and then it will create a takedown request for the artist. Now, I'm going to bring it to you first, Joe. Do you see big companies coming after these individual artists? If you have a Nike check on, a shoe item, or, say, a little Lacoste alligator on a t-shirt, do you think these sites are going to be coming after the individual artists? Or are they just going to, maybe try to lean on OpenSea?
It's a really interesting question. I think that for the moment, I don't know what exactly they would do in the sense of if this actually were to happen or if it's already happening. But I would say that they'd probably go to OpenSea trying to go after these individual artists, because OpenSea is kind of like just it has more, there's just a lot more going on there, and there's a lot more like credibility with that. Trying to just find this person and then take it down and do all of that for a major company to do something like that. I don't even know if one of these if it did happen, artists got an sudden was like, oh yeah, by the way, you need to take this down. I don't even know if they'd take that seriously or not. Obviously they should, but look, it's a really interesting space that we're in with these NFTs, because it's really, a lot of people are just coming at this to try to make money, and that's fantastic. We want that, but also too, it's taking away from real art, real things. And it's harder and harder to kind of figure out what's what. And so I'm glad that this new Sniffles bot, for sure. I think it's really good because it will help in the future. And if I was a big company and there was people that was using my stuff, personally for me, I wouldn't be too upset initially, but also, yeah, if I have copywritten stuff, I would definitely turn to OpenSea first.
All right. Well, Tom, should OpenSea, or could OpenSea do more to combat plagiarism, or do you think they're doing a good job as is?
Well, I mean, I guess so far that they are. I agree with most of what Joe said there, where for the time being, you're not really going to be seeing many companies do copyright strikes at the moment. But just imagine if you get a Beeple level of NFT that is sold for $70 million, and all of the free branding recognition that these companies love to talk about goes out of the window, and they're going to be saying, this guy made $100 million on this NFT that's got our logo on there. We want to have some of the piece of the pie. So I think you're going to be seeing something like that. But again, I think throughout the time, as NFTs mature, as OpenSea's mature as well, I think you're also going to be seeing this type of copyright technology being implemented, because as much as we may sit here and say, it's just a guy who has a passion for creating stuff on there, and he's adding a logo here and there, and what's the harm? There's going to be companies out there that have lawyers, and they have board meetings, and they want to find a way to get a piece of the pie at the end of the day, really. So that's where it will most likely go, and you'll see more technology like this for NFTs.
Yeah, hopefully the candy heart people don't come after Ragsy. Now, Ben he brought up copyright law. Do you see copyright law, kind of stifling creativity and stifling the space? Kind of like how red tape will stifle, we had our own issues with this building that we're in right now. Do you see a similar situation here where just regulations and red tape and copyright law kind of just putting the brakes on the industry?
No, not at all. I think it's just the kind of thing where sometimes it will be very useful. Like, if you were able to get, a license to produce an NFT for Disney or for, a professional sports team or something like that, like that'd be very beneficial. Those would be extremely sought after licenses. People would pay a lot of money for. So that's a win-win for, the people that provide the license, the company or the team. But I think, look, guys, making money off of somebody else's work is not what we're supposed to be doing. Now, you got to figure out, like, what is the line? There's really no exact line between what is and what is not copyright infringements. That's why there's lawsuits to try to determine that. But you can't make something with a Nintendo character. They're going to get you. Now, early on in the days of NFTs, when these places weren't paying attention, you could certainly, do something like that. We had some NFTs early on that were some little gifts that might have involved, some characters from some popular video games. But, it was just kind of thing we're all feeling it out and trying to figure out, how it all works. I think we're seeing you're not going to be able to do this without getting these licenses. But it's a very simple answer. Just create something, like create something. Pluto Alliance is a good example of something that, I just had this idea one day. We should do alien NFTs. Everybody loves aliens. And so I had this idea.
Not Elian Gonzalez.
No.
No, not
Cuban.
that
He's
famous
Cuban.
picture
No, not
NFT style. No. Okay. That
No,
would have been real bad.
These are armed aliens. That was an armed SWAT team member against an alien.
Oh,
That's
okay.
different.
Thanks for clearing that up. All right.
Yeah.
We'll appreciate it. All right. Well, Mac, pretend I'm in the incubator. I don't mean, fetal position with the heat lamp on me. Pretend I'm in your group, the incubator. Definitely check out Mac's stuff. Now, how should an NFT creator protect themselves from some of these, copyright laws and legal gray areas?
I think there's a number of things, and Ben touched on it, purely creating. If you're creating, then that's going to help you. Also, I think there's some obvious decisions from the metadata component. So when you have a piece of art and an NFT, the real attributes, that's the metadata associated with the actual image. So when you have just for a Nintendo character, right? Or when you have something that has like a Gucci signature, don't name the metadata Gucci purse. Like that seems like an obvious decision, but like that alone is a good step in the right direction. If it's, if it Gucci color is like the hexadecimal color is ABCD, maybe you make it ABC3 or whatever, so it is a different color where you can see the clear inspiration. But again, start creating, do some of these obvious non-copyright infringement things and put your own spin on it, because you want it to maybe trigger emotions where it's like, oh, that looks like a Pokeball. Oh, that looks like a Gucci purse, but it's not actually the same thing. And start creating. And I think one thing that is kind of interesting here is, right, the whole idea that Ethereum, Web3, it's permissionless. There's no gated walls. You can create, and there's really nobody that you have to kind of report to. That's just not the case, unfortunately. If you look at OpenSea kind of right now is a central entity in all of NFTs. MetaMask itself hits the OpenSea API. So if OpenSea decides, and they're a centralized entity, right? If OpenSea decides that your image is copyright infringement, your NFT is basically off the map. So you kind of have to play in these rules, and you gotta follow these guidelines. So it's like tread lightly, and if you think there might be copyright infringement, maybe you just scrap that feature, or maybe you just kind of really get away from that concept.
Yeah, that's kind of what we preach at NFT Update. Like if it's a Adidas official drop, yeah, sure, get it. But if the avatar is wearing Adidas shoes and they don't have permission, that's something I'm staying away from. Expect, maybe some backlash on that. But let's talk about the 3.6 billion recovered, billion with a B. We're talking about Bitfinex. Department of Justice says seized $3.6 billion worth of Bitcoin tied to the 2016 hack. 2 individuals, Ilya Lichtenstein and Heather Morgan, were arrested in New York, expected to appear in court today. They are charged with money laundering, conspiracy to defraud U.S. They face 25 years in a federal penitentiary. Now, I'm going to bring it back to you, Mac. You just did a TikTok on it. Pretty funny. Does she have a future as a rapper?
Actually, I kind of thought it was bars. If you haven't checked it out, the people that got caught for stealing and for hacking, that there's a ton of content on the internet. Go on crypto Twitter, check out my TikTok, check out and scroll really anywhere, and you're gonna see this content. But it reminds me of Bad Baby, which Gucci flip-flops, where there's a theme for this episode, Gucci flip-flops. But honestly, if it's bars, I certified.
Did not mean to hit the sound there. We have a quick clip if you wanted to show it real quick, BJ. This is we're not going to do the sound. We don't want to get a copyright strike, but don't worry, it's safe for work. It's safe for work. But yeah, so that's what we were talking about. She might have a future as a rapper. Check out crypto Twitter. Like Matt
I think
said.
it's probably an indication, and who know, they're just having fun online. But the hack was in 2016. So how far have we moved as a industry? Because I'm not sure. I don't know the details, the ins and outs of actually how they did it. But if you wanted to hack Coinbase or something, I envision that the person will look a little bit different, or it'll be a little bit of a different persona.
I was going to say, are those the hackers that you just showed?
Those are the hackers.
Allegedly. Well,
Right,
Tom,
okay.
let's talk about the space is maturing. One of the famous fudsters, we have the crypto whale out there. He'll repeatedly bring up Mt. Gox Bitcoin. They're going to flood the market. This is going to hit. It's going to tank Bitcoin. It's going to $4 or so. I don't know what he says, but it's something crazy. Have we matured enough as a market where, we'll hear rumors of this 3.6 being paid back to the defendants, whether it's 12 months from now, 24 months from now, maybe 6 months from now? Should we worry about that Bitcoin hitting the market, or are we mature enough as an asset class that's not really a concern?
That's a really good question, actually. I mean, $3.6 billion divided by the overall market cap of Bitcoin, which is like, what, 830 billion, I think, at the moment. So, probably like a small red candle here and there. So something fairly low.
I think it's around 0.4%, just the math off the top of my head. 0.4% or so.
Okay, yeah. So very, very low percentage. So I think this is a sign, definitely, that the market is maturing. I mean, Bitcoin being 13 years old. I mean, going from 13 years ago, just a line of code, to now being legal tender in El Salvador, going to be in Tonga. Turkey's looking into it as well. So it's moved on quite a fair bit. So just from being sort of a meme thing back then, and also trying to go against the establishment, to now, in a way, working with the establishment. So it's one of those things where there is going to be maturity and the regulatory clarity. So just sort of calling back to the XRP case, this will also provide some legal clarity to a lot of people out there, especially institutions that are eager to get into the crypto space. So definitely a sign of maturity. Yeah.
All right. Well, Ben, the FBI, I think it was the FBI. Yeah, the feds, they hacked an encrypted file that had the addresses and had the seed phrases on it. What should we as an audience take from that?
I'm sorry, I'm listening to these rap videos on YouTube right now.
So they grabbed the addresses, they grabbed the seed phrases. They had hacked these people's seed phrases. Should we, as an audience,
can we talk about the rap again?
I mean, let's talk about the rap. I mean,
it's hard to go away from the rap.
Should we make a music NFT with them?
I mean, how do you feel? You're going to end up probably going to prison over this, and you have a rap with the cover of it, of the thumbnail, a picture of you with no shirt on, wearing only Blue Star pasties.
You feel the same way as the Ethereum founder being known for dancing and picking his nose. You found Ethereum, but that's what you're known for.
I tell you, she doesn't look too much different probably than I would think a hacker would look, Very interesting. Well, I will say this. Now, I know they're not, they weren't popular or anything like that, but it just proves what I've always said, which is a lot of these people on Twitter, they're these mysterious accounts, they may not be large, or whatever. Twitter is crawling with scammers. It's crawling with scammers. They're out there. If you think that these people, like, they don't have their finger on the pulse of crypto culture, then you're crazy. I see some of the messages that these people write, and yes, most of them are bot farms, but there are a lot of them that, aren't, and they know how to sound like certain people, certain, the impersonators I'm talking about. So, man, it's very fascinating. But anyways, the question with the hack, should people be concerned about it? Can you just repeat that one more time?
Yeah, so they had hacked their seed phrases. They had hacked their addresses in addition. So something,
How did they
average,
do that?
probably the same way with the pipeline. Maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of
It's
fishiness with
impossible.
that as well.
You can't
But
hack a seed
I mean,
phrase.
apparently they had a list, which also sounded suspicious. They had a giant list of all the seed phrases corresponding to all these accounts. I mean, is there, maybe part of the story we're not being told? What's your thoughts on it?
Well, Bitfinex is as dirty as the day is long, and they have been consistently involved in nefarious activities since they started. If you didn't know, the biggest scandal outside of Mt. Gox ever in crypto is just Tether. I mean, look, I don't think Tether's going to collapse. I'm not one of these Tether FUD people, but the way it started, super sketchy. And that's why they're facing all these lawsuits. They did not have all the money at first to back it up. They later changed language on their website to say, we have assets that back it up. It used to say dollars. It used to be a 1-to-1. Now they're like, we have assets to back everything up. So there's definitely a lot of sketchiness in there. Bitfinex created Tether on the Omni blockchain. You guys can look Brock Pierce. If you're newer to crypto and you hear this name and you get excited about it, you like he's a child actor, do a little research on that guy, and I think you'll see he maybe not, he won't ever come on this channel. I'll tell you this. There's a lot of sketchy stuff in his background involving Hollywood and also additionally involving a lot of these shell companies that Bitfinex is behind. There's a lot of people that believe that Bitfinex is behind the Quadriga CX scandal. That actually, in reality, there's a lot of shell companies that connect Quadriga CX and the trading that the founder, Gerald Cotton, was doing with users' funds, and then funneling that back to addresses that are owned by shell companies that are owned by Bitfinex. So just a lot of sketchiness there. So I'll be honest with you, most likely sounds like an inside job. These people are the scapegoats. Maybe we'll find out about that. But I mean, who has access to the seed phrases from the exchanges? That would be the exchanges.
Yeah. What sophisticated hacker would have it able to be hacked? That's another question.
There's no such thing in crypto as a hacker that can break SHA-256 encryption. Does not exist. Does not happen. The day that it does happen, it will happen one day.
Yeah,
it will
be a billionaire.
immediately have a gigantic effect on the markets. Hopefully, Bitcoin will be able to front run this and see this coming a little bit ahead of time. I mean, maybe in the next 20 years, 10 to 20 years, and be able to change the encryption to a higher level before it does happen. But hackers are not able to do things like that. Here's what hackers do. Inside jobs like this one, they're able to phish you. They're able to exploit back ends of coding from wallets or whatever that leave a loose back end. That's why you got to be real serious, and that's why you need to pay attention to what wallets you're using to make sure their security is up to par. Hackers are not miracle workers. All they do is sift through information and find it. They used organized crime to SIM card swap people through phone companies, but they still have to get in to your account. So if you have bad security, they SIM swap you, boom, they're going to get in all your accounts. Make sure you're using tight security, 2FA, things like that. Google and other places are making it harder to do that because they're doing like natural 2FA, confirming through your text message and stuff. But of course, they have your SIM card and they swapped your number, then they can do that themselves. So you got to be careful out there. But hackers, I want to demystify this. Hackers are not miracle workers. We generally know what they can do. And the main thing they do is take advantage of information that becomes available to them.
Yeah, and if you've seen the movie Hackers, they also lock people up on the ceiling, say there's a pool up there. Now, Joe, final question of the day. Does this teach the importance of getting crypto off an exchange And I mean, is that something that, you know, you consider important? Should the average person care about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if this shows anything, really, it's important of securing your cryptocurrency and really educating yourself on this, because every single day there's something happening with crypto. Whether, you know, you just put on the news and, you know, this hack happened, you know, it seems like every day there's something happening. And so you really need to educate yourself and learn about these things and not dwell on it, right? Don't freak yourself out, obviously, but you need to really know what you're doing before you start investing in these new digital assets. Because if you don't, all of a sudden, you know, you go into your MetaMask and you're like, well, what happened? I have where are all my
Yeah.
coins? You know,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, what did you know? Let's take a look at that. Well, well, I clicked on this thing and then I did this and now they're all gone. And or somebody was, you know, telling me to send them this because this is how the new coin worked. It's like, well, I mean, look, you got to really pay attention to what you're doing. Did you go to the official site? Like, there's so many of these things happening right now. And, you know, if you look at, you know, what happened back in 2016 and the wrapping and all the fun stuff that happened, you know, it's fun to, you know, to watch. And it's really unfortunate that the girls, you know, I mean, 25 years in prison, serious to say the least. You know, you got to really just take care of yourself and protect yourself. You know, John Wooden said it best. He had his two bars of three, which is never whine, never complain, don't make excuses. And then the other ones were, you know, don't lie, cheat, or steal. And if you can, you know, really stick to those, and I mean, I think you're going to be in good shape. And hopefully that helps everybody here at the end of the show.
We always like a good John Wooden quote, you know, to, you know, drain it from the backcourt there. But that is all we have time for today. Ben almost stole it from the Mac man himself there, you know, got him riled up about Bitfinex, but MacNCheeasy, he's just trying to tell people about copyright protection. So Mac, you get to lead us into the incubator and leave us with some parting thoughts here.
I believe, was it John Wooden who said, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. Maybe that's a quote, maybe it isn't, but either way, I think if you're watching this, you're in the right place to start learning about crypto. And these hacks, these things that happen, they happen all the time to even the most educated crypto investors. And why? Because it's a big business opportunity. So make sure that you're aware of the different social engineering tactics that can happen to you, and just be mindful not to click random links, not to, you know, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. So make sure to like this video and follow everybody on this panel, because they're going to help you do that.
And John Wooden also says Frankie Candles is live, so go check that out. And that is all we got time for today, BitSquad. DEEZY out.